What's up guys, Justin here with the SketchUpEssentials.com. So in today's video, we're going to check out some of the new features contained inside of the new version of the Bevel extension for SketchUp from MindSight Studios. Let's go ahead and just jump into it. All right, so the first thing I want to point out is Bevel is currently going to be on sale for 25% off through March 31st. So that's going to give you a few days to go through and pick this up if you are looking for a great beveling tool for SketchUp. You can check that out at the SketchUpEssentials.com/bevel. Note that is an affiliate link, meaning I do receive a commission if you purchase through that link. But what I wanted to do is show you some of the features contained inside of version 1.1 of this tool. Okay, so the first thing is there's now two different kinds of rounding profiles that you can use. The Bezier or the Bezier is the default type, and it's the type that's been in Bevel before. And it works great for creating rounded off edges like this one. So say that I wanted this to have an edge offset of something like, we'll say 24 inches. I could just type in 24 and hit the enter key. Now the problem with that is if you click on this, notice how that curve that it creates isn't actually 24 inches. And then let's do the same thing on this one, where we're going to offset this, or we're going to bevel this, and we're going to type in a value of 24 inches. And so this is the way things worked before, and it does a fine job of creating smooth edges. However, now there's a new function in here in your settings to switch your created curve rounding from Bezier to arc. And so if you switch this to arc, what this is going to do is this is going to create a slightly different profile when you run this tool. So now if I select this edge and I bevel it off by 24 inches, so I'm going to type in 24 inches right here. Notice how when you click on this, your radius is actually 24 inches. And notice how also this actually shows up with a radius now. So over here, this shows up as an arc rather than a curve. And so that's the first thing, is you get a more accurate bevel on your edge like this. And so say that we were to run it over here, it would do the same thing, right? So we're going to type in a value of 24 inches right here, like this. Notice how this became an arc, and because it became an arc, it has a radius of 2 feet, which is exactly what we typed in. Now, the other interesting thing about this is you can actually adjust this. So now I can type in a value of 18 inches right here, and notice how it's actually going to adjust that curve. Now, when we do that, we want to be a little bit careful that we're actually adjusting both of these. So we also want this one to be 18 inches right here. But notice how you can actually come in here and edit those, and the geometry will actually adjust with this because these are in here as arcs rather than curves. Because if we tried to do that on the old method, the Bezier method, notice how there's no option in here to adjust the radius. So we could do the same thing over here, and we could actually select, it looks like you can't select both of them. You got to do them one at a time. But say that we were to type in a value of 12 inches right here, you can either create a bevel that's going to adjust between those different radiuses, or you could adjust it to 12 inches right here, and notice how this is going to change. Now, as far as I know, there's no downsides to the arc other than it's new, and it's not, I wouldn't call it experimental, but it's something where they're still like triple checking that there's no bugs. So if I were you, what I would do is I would use the arc rounding for your bevels, but then if something doesn't work for whatever reason, I'd switch it back to that Bezier option and see if that works. And so I actually like the way this new arc function works. So the other thing they've added in this version, which is something that's actually really interesting and kind of helpful, I think, is say that, for example, you've got something like a countertop like this. And so we've got a front edge that we want to bevel off. So we're going to do that. And we're going to bevel this by maybe like a 1/4 inch, right? So 0.25 right here, and hit the enter key. So what this does is this comes in here and it bevels off the edge, which is fine. But say that you wanted to come in here and like dimension the distance until that edge starts, or that curve starts, that can be a little bit hard to find in here. However, there's now a function where you can select a surface and you can click on the option for Harden Borders. And what that's going to do is that's going to go find the borders of your arc right here, and it's going to harden them so that this isn't a fully softened edge anymore. Well, what that means is that now coming in here and doing things like dimensioning that is a lot easier. And so now you've got something that you can easily inference to if you're setting up dimensions inside of the space right here. So you can use this in order to quickly set up dimensioning by hardening those borders, those edges. And so this is probably a better example. You can see it a little bit better. So say that I was to push pull this in right here. We're just going to take the whole thing. We're going to bevel it. We'll bevel it just a bit, right? Not a ton, maybe like 2 inches or something like that. We'll hit the enter key. We'll notice how, I mean, this does a great job of like smoothing this out, but if you wanted to pick all of that up, you can select the edge and you can harden those borders, and then you can actually see the borders of your selection in here, and you could dimension off of them like this. So this is actually pretty valuable because now I can all of a sudden pick up all of this stuff just by single clicking on the lines and edges, just by hardening those borders when I'm working. Note that all of these tools come in addition to the other tools that are contained inside of Bevel, notably the live bevel function, which allows you to bevel off an object in a non-destructive way, meaning you can actually come in here and you can edit and adjust the simple shape that's in here, and it's going to apply that bevel live. This is actually kind of a function that I wish would get added more as like a native SketchUp function. It's kind of like the modifiers in Blender, but what it does is it allows you to quickly add and adjust these shapes and then add the bevel after the fact, like this. And that bevel is always going to be adjustable, right? So I could adjust my edge offset over here. I could adjust my number of segments. So that edge offset is going to be too big. So you're going to get overlap, but you can adjust numbers of segments. So if you wanted just a single bevel, you could do that. You could add multiple different segments in here, just depending on what you wanted to do. So this is something that's actually live and adjustable, which is another, probably, I think, one of the best features inside of this tool. Because if you ever want to turn it back off, you can come back in here and you can remove it. So you can just say, no, we don't want that bevel anymore, just like this. All right, so like I said, Bevel is on sale for the next few days at 25% off, so I'll link to that on this page. But let me know what you think about this tool in the comments down below. I love having this conversation with you guys. As always, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this, and I'll catch you in the next video. Thanks, guys.